Boredom is a modern problem. You think leisure is something your civilization invented. You think ancient humans spent every waking minute just trying not to die. You are wrong. And the evidence has been sitting in the dirt for thousands of years. Here is what nobody tells you about prehistoric life. It was not a relentless grind from sunrise to collapse. Anthropologists who study modern hunter-gatherer societies, groups whose way of life closely mirrors that of our ancient ancestors, consistently find something surprising. These people work somewhere between 3 and 5 hours a day to meet all their basic needs. 3 to 5 hours. The rest of the day belongs to them and they filled it. So what did they actually do? The first thing you have to understand is that fun for ancient humans was not separate from life the way it is for you. You clock out, you decompress, you scroll, you watch, you zone out. For your ancestors, play, rest, and creativity were woven directly into the fabric of existence. There was no hard line between work and joy. It turns out they produced something extraordinary. Let's start with music. Researchers discovered a bone flute at a place called Hohl Fels Cave in southwestern Germany. This instrument, carved from the hollow bone of a vulture, was dated to at least 40,000 years ago. 40,000 years. That means some human being, living in a world without agriculture, without writing, without cities, sat down and deliberately shaped an animal bone into something that could make a melody. Nicholas Conard, the archaeologist who led the excavation, argued that music played a central role in maintaining social bonds and reducing conflict within groups. Music was not entertainment in the background. It was community technology. Your ancestors played together because playing together kept the group alive. But it goes deeper than flutes. Percussion almost certainly came first. Clapping, stomping, striking hollow logs, the body itself as an instrument. Before any carved object existed, the rhythm was already there. And with rhythm came dancing. We cannot directly fossilize a dance, but we can read the evidence in what ancient people left behind. Cave paintings at sites like Lascaux in France, dated to roughly 17,000 years ago, show figures in motion, arms raised, legs bent. Some researchers interpret these as depictions of ritual dance. Whether ceremonial or purely for joy, the body moving in time with sound is one of the oldest human activities we have any record of. Now consider art, not as a cultural achievement, but as play. The Cave of Altamira in northern Spain contains paintings that stunned the modern world when they were rediscovered in the 1870s. Bison rendered in ochre and charcoal with such accuracy and movement that early archaeologists refused to believe prehistoric people made them. They were wrong. Humans were making art deep inside the earth in flickering firelight, tens of thousands of years before the first civilization rose. And not just in Spain and France. Cave art has been found on every inhabited continent. This was not a European quirk. This was a human impulse. The desire to make something beautiful, to represent the world, to leave a mark. It appears to be as old as we are. What were they painting? Animals mostly, the creatures they hunted, the ones they feared, the ones they revered. But also handprints. Hundreds and hundreds of human handprints pressed against stone walls in pigment, blown through a hollow reed or bone. A hand against the wall. A human saying, "I was here. I existed." Does that sound like a survival instinct to you? That is not survival. That is the urge to be witnessed. That is as close to a selfie as a Paleolithic person could get. Anthropologist David Lewis Williams spent decades studying altered states of consciousness in relation to cave art. His research suggests that some ancient art was made during, or in memory of, visionary experiences induced through rhythmic drumming, fasting, or other practices. Whether or not you accept that specific interpretation, the point stands. These were people exploring their inner world, not merely reacting to the outer one. Now picture the scene. An evening roughly 30,000 years ago. The hunt is done. The fire is lit. Children are chasing each other through the dark. At the edge of the firelight, someone is telling a story. Someone else is shaping a lump of clay into the shape of a horse. An older woman is braiding grass into a pattern, not because it does anything useful, but because she likes the way it looks. A man is teaching a younger one how to chip flint into a blade, but also into something that might be a face. This is not survival. This is an evening. This is life. Storytelling almost certainly predates every other art. It requires nothing but a voice and a listener. Researcher Polly Wiesner studied the content of conversations among the Jew/Hoansi people of southern Africa, a group that has lived as hunter-gatherers for generations. Her work, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, found a striking difference between daytime and nighttime talk. During the day, people discussed practical matters and logistics. But at night around the fire, about 81% of conversation shifted to stories. Spirits, adventures, the exploits of people who lived far away or long ago. Nighttime was story time, and those stories did something measurable. They built identity, reinforced values, and strengthened the web of relationships that kept people safe. Your ancestors told stories not as a pastime, but as a form of social architecture. And then there are games. Researchers have found what appeared to be game pieces, small, carefully shaped stones and objects at sites thousands of years old. The ancient board game Senet was played in Egypt over 5,000 years ago, but competitive play almost certainly goes back much further. Watch any group of children given free time and you see the same instincts. Racing, throwing, competing, testing limits. Your ancestors were no different. Wrestling, foot races, throwing contests for distance or accuracy. These require no equipment and leave almost no archaeological trace, but they are documented in every traditional culture ever studied. Play is not a human invention. It is a mammal inheritance. Your ancestors did not choose to play. They were built for it. Here is the twist you might not expect. For most of human history, leisure was not something you earned. It was not a reward for productivity. It was built into the structure of life itself. The 40-hour work week, the separation of work time from free time, the idea that you must justify your rest, these are inventions of the last few hundred years. For 99% of human history, no one asked whether you deserved your afternoon. You simply had it, and you used it to make music, to tell stories, to paint walls, to play games, to dance around a fire with the people you loved. The ancient humans who carved that bone flute in Germany were not doing it to be productive. They were not optimizing for anything. They were not building a personal brand. They were doing it because the impulse to create, to play, to make beauty, that impulse is the oldest thing about you. It did not evolve because it was useless. It evolved because a human who could sing, tell stories, create, and play games was a human who could bind others to them, build trust across distance, transmit knowledge across generations, and make life worth living even when it was hard. You think ancient life was grim and relentless, but the bone flute says otherwise. The painted hands say otherwise. The circle of stones around a fire pit, the clay figurine left in a cave, the game pieces worn smooth from 10,000 uses, they all say the same thing. Your ancestors played, they sang, they sat around fires and told stories about places they had never been and people they would never meet. They danced, they made things for the sheer pleasure of making them. You were not built just to survive. You were built to play. And somewhere 30,000 years ago, someone sat alone in a firelit cave and blew a melody through a hollow bone, just to hear what it sounded like. Just because they could. Just because it felt good. That person was you.